Tesla's in the red, the NASDAQ's in the red, the S&P 500's in the red. The streets are running with red. Buy, sell, do something, do something. Or you could just chill out. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So yeah, that was a bit of an over-the-top intro, but hey, that's the exact kind of environment that we're living in right now. Man, if you watch any kind of finance news, it's absolute insanity. It's like the world is imploding or something like that. I just want to take a moment as a non-investor type of person, just a normal Joe that has invested small amounts of money over time in various stocks, and just talk about it. I've actually got about 3 decades worth of experience investing. It unfortunately has been in very, very small doses. So that's why I'm still working and not retired at this point, because I've actually made good decisions over the years just with relatively small amounts of money. So, you know, it is what it is. Before I start this, I just want to be very explicit here. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm rather poor at this whole kind of thing, honestly. So just understand that, do your own research. Do not take this as financial advice. I'm telling you what I do and what works for me and what makes me comfortable. So just understand that. Anyway, I don't normally talk about Tesla stock specifically on this channel. We're more about the tech and all of the stuff that Tesla does and SpaceX does and other things. But I think it's worth once in a while just thinking about the stock market itself. The number one thing about the stock market is it's pretty nutty in the short term, right? It's incredibly chaotic. It goes up and down, things go crazy. Essentially what you're doing is you're buying pieces, if you're a stock investor, you're buying pieces of a company based on whether you think this company is going to do well or not, or at least that's ideally what you should be doing. But what I think happens instead is especially a lot of retail investors get emotionally involved in stocks and don't really look at what a company is doing, but kind of they see like a wave going up and they're like, oh my gosh, look, you know, they've gone up by 20% in the last 3 days or something like that. I better jump on this bandwagon. And you see this over and over and over again. And so that self-fulfilling sort of prophecy helps to hype up a stock, and then as soon as it comes back down off of those peaks, you're like, oh no, it's gone down 20% in the last 3 days. I better sell because everybody else is selling. So I think it was Warren Buffett that said you should always be buying when other people are selling and selling when other people are buying. That's the basic sort of advice of this. But even that I think is advice for like day traders. It's for people who are really, really active in the stock market. The number one thing I think we normal investors can do is just be patient. You're not going to outtime the stock market. Nobody can do that. People who get paid a whole bunch of money to be hedge fund managers can't do that. If you look at hedge funds, they make a lot of bets and most of them are not good bets. They just happen to go outsized results for the ones that do well, and so they can actually outperform the S&P or something like that. So anyway, you're not going to do that unless you're incredibly lucky or really, really, really smart. I don't have enough time to devote to the stock market to be sitting there looking at every single piece of information to determine which one is the best option to go in, right, and to try to time the market. It's just a crazy thing to do. The stock market is, in the short term, the stock market is chaos. That's all it is. In the long term, you see patterns developing, but that means that you have to wait months, probably more like years to decades, to see how all of this stuff plays out. So I just want to take a little example of the actual first stock that I ever purchased. Unfortunately, I lost it in a divorce. Otherwise, I would have a nice little nest egg. But anyway, back in 1998, I believe it was shortly after Steve Jobs had returned to Apple, super, super broke. We had no money, right? But I said, can I have a few $100s to play with the stock market? And I bought Apple shares. I also, by the way, at the time, because I was thinking in terms of hedging and stuff, remember this was just after Windows 95 came out. Even though I really didn't like Microsoft as much, I actually purchased Microsoft with some of that money as well. So anyway, I think that I bought about $300 on Apple and about $200 on Microsoft. So I purchased that as a little bit of a hedge because I figured one of those was going to do well. But I was very, very confident in Steve Jobs' ability to turn Apple around. If you don't remember, in the 90s, they were having their lunch just completely eaten by Microsoft and others, and they were flailing around. So it was really dark days for Apple, but consequently their stock shares were really, really inexpensive. So what's happened over time is that Apple stock has done very, very well, and by being patient and just sitting on the stock and doing nothing, it's actually worth a lot now. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have it anymore, but my ex is quite happy about the fact that she has all of that stock, even though I was the one that actually did the investing in it. So anyway, what are you going to do about that? That has to do with lawyers. That's a whole different can of worms. But the basic idea here is when you purchase a stock, purchase it with the fundamentals in mind. Do not get emotional about it. Look at the situation. Although I guess don't get emotional might be a little bit too far, because you should have a good feeling, right? Your gut, if you're somebody who knows an area really well, and I've been in technology for a long, long time, and I was a purchaser of Apple products since 1984 when I bought the original Macintosh, 128K of memory, you know, that ancient computer, and I had used Apple IIs prior to that other people that I knew had owned. So I'd been purchasing Apple computers for over a decade, like 14 years at the point that I bought their stock, and I was like, yeah, they had problems in the early 90s, but I could see where Steve Jobs was turning it around. So I had a good feeling, but it was a really, really well-informed good feeling. And I feel fairly strongly that that worked well. Now, I've also made some investments that did not work out particularly well. I bought some liquid metal stock, and if anybody knows liquid metal, there was a time in the early 2000s when it looked like that was going to be the next big thing, because Apple was going to be using it for their iPhones and other potential things. And so I was like, oh, sure, let's buy some liquid metal and see what's happened. That has completely tanked. So I've made really, really bad decisions as well, but the good decisions have far, far outweighed the bad decisions. And of course, I want to point out that I only put a very small amount of money into liquid metal. I didn't put a lot of money in there because I didn't have the same conviction. But anyway, as you invest, you know, you should invest the amounts of money that you have based on the amount of conviction you have. So I had a small amount of conviction in liquid metal, and I had a very large amount of conviction in Apple, so I purchased more Apple than liquid metals, you know, so that's the way things go. Notice that my ex didn't really want that liquid metal stuff. It's not really worth very much anymore. But anyway, that's the number one thing, is just be patient. You know, people say hodl or hold or whatever, but that's the basic idea, is to hold. Why is this difficult? The difficulty comes in the media that's coming at you, right? Every time you turn on the news back in the old days, or now every time you like launch a web page or go to Yahoo Finance, it's just like giant headlines are screaming buy, sell, buy, sell. Why is that happening? For two reasons. Number one, these finance media websites or channels want your eyeballs because that gets them more advertising dollars. So the more big headlines they can throw at you, the better. And number two, fund managers, people who are either getting money from you personally buying and selling shares, or people that you're investing your money with, fund managers, they make more money by more turnover. The more you buy and sell, the better for everybody. And the more your eyeballs are watching the finance media, the better for those people. The people that actually hurts is us, because buying and selling is, I think, a really, really bad idea. Like I said, in the short term, you just can't outsmart the market because it's chaos. There's not really a pattern. Believe me, people have put AI. I actually did a project in class when I was doing my AI master's degree, which was looking at long-term stock market, you know, trends and trying to figure out if you could make an AI that could predict what was going to happen. In the long term, it worked really well. In the short term, no, it didn't work at all. So if the best human minds and the best AI can't figure out how to game the system, then you're not likely to win out over that, just being a casual investor. So have conviction, purchase, and hold. And then the second piece of advice that I have for us investor people that just casually invest is do it casually. Don't invest so much money that your life is leverage for this thing. I really think it's important for you to understand, only invest as much money as you can afford to lose, because even if your stock wins, it could be 10 years before you see that. So it's not like you're gonna put this money in and in 2 weeks get it out and make a 30% profit. Yeah, it's possible that could happen, but it's also quite possible you could lose 30 or 50% or something along those lines. So you don't wanna put in money that you need for rent next month, or to pay the electrical bill, or to buy food. That is a really, really bad idea, at least in my opinion. And again, remember that this is not investment advice. I'm just an individual. In fact, I'm a very, very poor investor, or else, like I said, I would be a lot more wealthy. But anyway, I have a very, very high risk aversion, so I've actually invested too little in my mind. But you should do your own research, but also feel your own comfort level. What is your comfort level and your risk tolerance in investing? How much are you willing to put in? Anyway, even though this is only my own opinion, I personally feel very strongly that I don't want to invest so much money in the stock market or in particular stocks that I become stressed out about my ability to live day to day or month to month. I think that that is a very poor idea for your own level of happiness in life. And if you do that, if you put away money and you invest it into stocks that you have a very high conviction in, and then you hold it because you don't have the need to take it out anytime soon for emergency reasons, and you don't get emotional about that, and you kind of ignore all the financial noise that's coming at you, you can ride out this crazy stuff. And if you're right, the stock over time is going to go up. And so you will make money. But remember, your net worth could actually be growing quite a bit. But if you don't want to take that stock out before a certain date, right, you can just project a date. You can say, I'm not going to touch this stock until 2032, no matter what. I'm just going to leave it and sit. And you want to be in a situation where you can do that. You can ignore the noise. You can ignore the FUD. You can ignore the insanity that's going on as the stock goes up and down in the short term. And you also don't need that money. Remember, you're not going to have this for 10 years, whether it succeeds or fails. You need to be able to put that money away for a decade if that's your time horizon. And basically putting it away that long means that it's not money for you. It just needs to be play money. So that's the way to think about this. It's like, how much money can I put over into something that I'm not going to need for 10 years or plus? It could be 15 or 20. Like I said, it's been nearly a quarter century since I bought that Apple stock. If that was something that I needed to pay the bills the next month, that would have been a really bad decision because I couldn't have let it sit that long. And in the short term, I could have easily lost a lot of that money. I don't remember what Apple stock was doing right at that moment. But anyway, you have to be able to put that money away and just not even miss it for a period of time, a very long period of time. So essentially, you're throwing the money into a trash can in the short term. It's just going away. You're burning it. And it's the future you that's going to appreciate this stock, not present day you. And it's really important to remember that. Do not go into this, again, just my opinion, but do not go into this thinking, oh, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money in the short term. This is awesome. You need to really, as an individual investor who doesn't have the time and the expertise to devote to daily trading, you just need to be a person that's just like, okay, cool. I'm making some money. I'm going to take a small amount of that. I'm going to put it in here. It's basically hidden. It's away. I'm not going to think about it for a long time. And then maybe when I'm ready to retire, or I don't know, when I have kids or if they want to send them to college or whatever that situation is, target a date in the future. Just set in your mind, X date, 10 years from now, or 2035 or 2030 or whatever it is that's your target date, and just don't sell the stuff until then. If you lose it all, it doesn't ultimately matter because you lost the money anyway in the short term. It wasn't something that you really had anymore. You just put it into a safe, right? And if at the end of that time you open the safe and it doesn't have any money left in it, then it's like, oh, well, that sucks. But if you open the safe and it's crammed full of cash, then that's awesome. So I guess that's the way to avoid the pitfalls of this crazy stock market stuff. Number one, have a long time horizon. Number two, ignore all the noise because they're doing it for their benefit, not for your benefit. Remember that they're not trying to help you out. They're either trying to benefit themselves through your eyeballs watching their media or benefit themselves by having you make a lot of trades, which makes them money on commissions. So no matter what it is, they're not doing it for your benefit. They're doing it for their benefit. It's very important to know that. And then the other thing is, don't invest so much money that it's hurting you a lot in the short term. Obviously, it would be nice to go on a vacation or something like that instead of purchasing some Tesla shares, but that's something where you're giving up something now for something in the future, right? That's something you can afford to do. You don't want to give up being able to eat this week because you bought Tesla shares. That's probably not the wisest decision to make. So do it with the money that you can invest and then hold it and just ignore all the noise. That is my non-advice because I'm not allowed to give financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. But that's what I do, at least. But it's been successful for me, and I expect it will continue to be so as well. All right, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat off-topic, but maybe revealing, thought-provoking, hopefully interesting episode. If you did, please do like it so other people can find it. And of course, consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. Also, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested, because like I said, I don't really cover the stock market that much on this channel. It's not my area of expertise. But if you'd like me to talk about it more, I'm happy to. If you don't want me to ever talk about it again, I'm also happy to hear about that as well. So let me know in the comments. And of course, you can subscribe for more of the tech kind of content and maybe also some more of this in the future. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. It's wonderful talking to you all. I have Patreon patrons who have, 0 shares of Tesla, all the way up to ones who have a lot. I have no idea how much, but a lot. So it's very interesting hearing perspectives from people who their net worth is either really, really tied up with Tesla or other growth stocks or things like that, versus people who don't have a lot invested in Tesla at the moment. So anyway, it's very, very cool conversations that we get to have. And of course, if you want to join the team, just check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, Success is a Possible Outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on. So check it out. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Thank you. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a power wall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.